Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we are reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, entitled Punishers Kali. Okay. And rewards. Punishers and rewards Kali. Okay. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vaibhava Swamini Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti-vaibhava Swamini Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the division that we have given. Maharaj Parikshit challenges and threatens the low-class man dressed as a king who is beating the cow and the bull. Now, in this very, in the first three verses, you will see again symptoms of Kali Yuga is being discussed here. Sota uvacha tatra gomitunang raja hanyamanam anatavat dhandahastang cha vrishalang dadrishe nirpalanchanam. Sutta Goswami said, after reaching that place, Maharaja Parikshit observed that a lower caste Shudra dressed like a king was beating a cow and a bull with a club as if they had no owner. Prabhupada's purport. The principal sign of the age of Kali is that lower caste Shudras, that is, men without Brahminical culture and spiritual initiation, will be dressed like administrators or kings. So this is the first symptom. In this chapter is discussed Kali symptom. So when we discuss some points like this, you should be aware also. Okay. And the principal business of such non-Kshatriya rulers will be to kill the innocent animals, especially the cows and the bulls, who shall be unprotected by their masters, the bona fide Vaishyas, the mercantile community. Now Prabhupada here immediately points out that in the previous chapter also these kind of points were discussed. Again here he is pointing out that what is happening is, so men without Brahminical culture are claiming themselves to be Brahmanas, or they are trying to be in that position, and that is a problem. They take up the position of Brahminical culture or take up the position of administration. They don't have sufficient qualities. There are many times we see people with very low mentality and low class qualities, they try to take up the positions, and when they try to rule, this is the result. Animals are slaughtered, cows are not protected, bulls are not protected, religion is considered as the opium of the masses. So these are the problems. And also, we will discuss more, just a brief. Then the cows and the bulls are not protected. Even before slaughtering, they are not even fed properly, and they are not even taken care properly, and a lot of cheating is going on, a lot of exploitation in the name of producing milk and business. Everything is exploited. So that's what is indirectly meant here. Prabhupada is trying to say, because how Vaishyas are doing like this, because they think that nobody is there above them, nobody will question, anybody comes, they will give some bribe and they will just manage. And sometimes you see in certain places they have certification, they have standards means there is ISO, International Standards Organization, so they have ISO standards, and to get that ISO certification, a company has to go through different procedures. There are certain standards they need to set up, then only that particular company or factory or whatever will be recognized as following proper norms and standards. But usually many times what happens is, they will have, when you just enter the company, there will be a big certification board, and many times when for the standards to be given by a particular company, there will be people who will be a team of investigators or a team which will come to testify your quality, they will come. And many times they are bribed. But then certain cases it's not possible, in certain cases it's possible. With money they or just at the time of getting the certification, they will keep all the standards proper. On once it's like simple philosophy. When the teacher is there, all the students are so wonderful. When the teacher is absent, I'm saying adverse setup. The modern schools and other places. When the teacher, of course, the modern schools different situation. Also, the teacher is there also. It's uncontrollable. That's another situation. But it's like that. Like when the standards, if the company want to give standards or somebody comes, they will upfront. They will be very good. But when they are not, all cheating will go on. Now, it's a little bit an extended example that I'm giving. Similarly, because there is no one on top of them who will be very genuine, who will really care for people, who will really looking for the welfare of the people, who are really looking the society, the praja to be God conscious, who are followers of dharma. So this king will establish a proper representative of the Lord who has taken the position of Naradeva. He can establish that. But then that doesn't happen, then all calamities happen. Okay, let's see what Prabhupada says. The Kshatriyas are meant to protect the citizens of the state, whereas the Vaishyas are meant to protect the cows and bulls and utilize them to produce milk and grain. The cow is meant to deliver milk and the bull is meant to produce grain. Thus, the cow and bull are the mother and father of human beings. The mother and father must be given all protection and are not to be killed. But in the age of Kali, the Shudra class of men are in the post of administrators, and the cows and bulls are the mothers and the fathers, unprotected by the Vaishyas. Prabhupada many times discusses this. So this is the key point. So in Kali Yuga, another very clear symptom of Kali Yuga is that the animals are unprotected. This is the first symptom here Prabhupada is pointing out. Now let's go to the next verse. Vrisham mrinala dhavalam mehantam iva bibhyatam. So it is compared to a lotus which is very white. The bull was so white. And then he was terrified of the Shudra who was beating him. Vepamanam padaikena siddhantam Shudra taditam. Shudra taditam. This Shudra was beating this particular bull, and because of fear, what is happening? He was passing water. He was trembling and urinating. Okay. Mehantam vepamanam. Two words are used here. So that is the pathetic situation. That the bulls are afraid because of bad treatment. Now, Prabhupada here talks about this next symptom of the Kali Yuga. The next symptom of the age of Kali is that principles of religion, which are all spotlessly white, like the white lotus flower, will be attacked by the uncultured Shudra population of the age. So, specifically, Prabhupada spoke about in the previous verse that the cows and bulls are slaughtered. Here he is pointing out that all the principles of religion are mishandled. Right? They are completely attacked by the uncultured Shudra population of the age. They will declare themselves as adherents of no religious principles, and many isms and cults will spring up in Kali Yuga only to kill the spotless bull of religion. So this is the problem. There will be so many societies, so many institutions, and many things will come up. Everything based on atheistic philosophy. Everything is based on how to be happy at the cost of exploitation of others. So that's why they can't even imagine how we should not give trouble to innocent creatures, how we should not exploit other living entities, human beings, animals, how they have to be taken, how the nature should not be exploited, how the earth should not be exploited. There is no conception. Their philosophy is only one philosophy: I, me, mine, how to be happy. And they think that by following their own whims and fancies, they'll be able to be happy. But there is immediate reactions which when someone is in conditioned state, they can never understand it. That's why also in the Rishabhadev's teachings, the nice verse Rishabhadev says, Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yad indriya pritaya apranu. Just for satisfying the senses, one is ready to do even a sinful activity. How one does that? Because he is already become matta, pramatta. He has become mad. This madness is due to trying to satisfy the tongue, trying to satisfy the trying to satisfy the nose, trying to satisfy the ears, trying to satisfy the sense of touch, and trying to satisfy belly, and everything is lost because of that. Just mere sense gratification puts you into a deep soup. And not, you may try satisfy your senses based on dharmic principles, but there is no question of dharma. When the Kali attacks, you are completely lost. Okay. Prabhupada further says, the state will be declared to be secular or without any particular principle of religion. And as a result, there will be total indifference to the principles of religion. This is complete cheating, This is what actually goes on. You can see, we have many times discussed the example. Sometimes they say it's a secular state, it's a secular college, it's a secular institution. But you cannot even come with vibhuti or kumkumam or kumkumam is Tamil, kumkum, whatever it is. What is it? Vermilion, right? In English. So then chandan, nothing. You have to come like what to say? What they say when the forehead is without anything, it's considered like a dead body. So your forehead should not be anything. You cannot be religious. But whereas real secularism means that particular administration should allow all religion to be treated equally. When they should be allowed to practice their faith. We will see in one purport how Prabhupada addresses that. Prabhupada very clearly speaks that how the different faiths should be allowed, and all the faith, the goal of the faith should be to develop love for God. So in the principles, they should be allowed to follow the principles, and those principles should be in line with the dharmic principles, the 4 pillars of religion. To the degree one follows the 4 pillars of religion, to that degree you will be closer to God. It doesn't matter. Prabhupada says that you may belong to any faith, it doesn't matter. You may be a Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Jew, whatever. For a Jew, in one lecture, Prabhupada says there used to be synagogue. Synagogue Jews construct. Then there is the church, there is a mosque, there are temples. You may construct and you may try to. People were interested before to engage in these kind of activities. Prabhupada had a friend by name Abdullah when he was in pharmaceutical industry. Srila Prabhupada, one time he asked him. He used to come and give him bottles. I think that was he was a vendor who was giving empty bottles. And Prabhupada was in pharmaceutical industry, So Prabhupada once asked him, so what will you do with all the money that you are getting? Abdullah, he asked him. He said, well, I want to help in constructing the mosque. He said. So Prabhupada quotes in one lecture. He says, you see, that culture was there before, but now belly satisfying culture. That's all. How to just enjoy the senses. This is the point. So this is what Prabhupada is saying here. So the state will be declared to be secular or without any particular principle of religion, and as a result, there will be total indifference to the principles of religion. See, another nice point Prabhupada is making this purport. Even the fragmental existence of religious principles. So here and there, some religious principles is hanging. That will also be embarrassed by the so many obstacles, as if in a trembling condition of falling down at any time. This is the problem. They will just, in whatever way it is possible, they will try to completely kill following any kind of religious practice. If you think about it, what could be a possible reason why they want to completely abolish practicing any religion? Can you think about it? What should be the problem? What's the harm if somebody tries to follow some faith?
It will hamper their self-gratification.
It will hamper the sense gratification of the followers. So what is the problem?
For administrators also, it will hamper the sense gratification.
Yeah, you can see, okay, when I think about it, you see there are so many industries, they are promoting so many non-vegetarian foods, they are promoting eggs, they are promoting meat products, they are promoting, you can see there are so many distilleries industry which promote, manufacture of wine, beer, so many things. Now, if a person becomes more God conscious, then what will happen? He will become more thoughtful. He will think what are the real principles of life. Many things he will try to avoid. He will understand that if we engage in these activities, it will create sin. So what he will do? He will gradually be very intelligent, become intelligent and start to question things. He'll question about the authority of the scientists. He'll question about the authority of the so-called administrators. He'll try to question about the authorities of the so-called industries and other products which are unnecessary. Now, all these things will affect so many so-called people who are exploiting the ignorant people and trying to make a livelihood. So they will always try to keep you in ignorance, and they will keep you in ignorance, and they will try to lead a happy life, which they can never be happy. So that's why they always try to. Anybody who wants to be a little rational, thoughtful, they don't allow that. And they say that by becoming a follower of religion, you become dull. You have dogmatic principles to follow. Dogmatic means blindly you follow something, and you are not able to enjoy your life, and like that, which is not true. It is completely wrong. In fact, the regulative principles of freedom. When we follow the regulative principles of the religion, we get real freedom. This is the point, right? Otherwise, in the so-called modern life, they are promoting so many things, but nobody is happy. That's the point. Okay. So yeah, they promote. There's another point that I thought was they promote so much. They advertise many. You can see in the promotion medias many places in the Facebook, in the YouTube, in the newspapers, in different forums. They gradually, step by step, they mock at several practices of religion. For example, they make a big mockery of Manusmriti. They speak about free mingling of men and women. This is restriction. They also very freely speak about women should be equal to men. So many restrictions in the Vedic times. There have been so many restrictions. So that has put India in a backward situation. Now let us grow. Let us become the developing nation. Like that, so many so-called modern thinkers, they completely ruin the nation. So as a result, that's all influence of the Kali. So many doubts, youngsters get many doubts. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in the study of scriptures. They don't believe in sacred things. So these are all influence of Kali. And this becomes more prominent when this kind of Shudra mentality people take up the position of being the administrators. Okay. Although the cow is beneficial because we can draw religious principles from her, she was now rendered poor and calfless. This is text 3. Her legs were being beaten by a Shudra. There were tears in her eyes, and she was distressed and weak. She was hankering after some grass in the field. So the next symptom of the age of Kali is the distressed condition of the cow. So can you recollect what are the 3 symptoms that we have seen so far? Huh? Shudra take up the position as administrators.
They will not take care of cows and bulls.
Yeah, as a result, the cows and bulls are mishandled. Yes. What is the second symptom?
They will defy the religious principles.
Right?
They are unprotected.
Yeah. What is it?
They will defy the religious principles.
Yeah, they defy the religious principles and it's unprotected. And now here another stress on the on mishandling of the cow. Prabhupada is expressing here. The distress condition of it. Milking the cow means drawing the principles of religion in liquid form. Beautiful definition Prabhupada gives. Milking the cow means drawing the principles of religion in liquid form. So you can just read this purport peacefully. Prabhupada very nicely speaks about how cows are being protected, how the cow's milk nourishes the brain, and how we get satisfied by drinking milk. And she also is happy to give milk when it is taken care nicely. Prabhupada speaks about in New Vrindavan farm during his time, that how the cow was taken care so nicely and it was giving so many, I don't remember how many liters, some 80 liters, something huge amount of milk it was giving because it was well protected, well cared for. He was very happy to be with devotees. Devotees really took care of the cows nicely. And it reciprocates also. But in the Kali Yuga, the calves are separated from the cows as early as possible for purposes which may not be mentioned in these pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. It doesn't want to. It is very. You can see Prabhupada's mood here. It's such a pain. He's expressing that how these rascals are misusing. The cow stands with tears in her eyes. The Shudra milkman draws milk from the cow artificially, and when there is no milk, the cow is sent to be slaughtered immediately. You just suck the milk as much as you want, and then kick it. That's what it is. And further, they put these injections also. Whatever injections they can just pump in the engine, they pump as much as possible, and they will how much ever you can squeeze, you squeeze and send them off. This is such a cruel mentality. These greatly sinful acts are responsible for all the troubles in present society. This is again a root cause for all the troubles. So root cause is mishandling of the cows. People do not know what they are doing in the name of economic development. The influence of Kali will keep them in the darkness of ignorance. Despite all endeavors for peace and prosperity, the people will fail to achieve them unless they try to see that the cows and bulls are happy in all respects. So this should be part of our preaching. Whenever we are addressing, we should speak about it boldly, clearly, that we should create awareness among people that cows should not be mishandled. You please, in your locality, around your place, don't allow cow slaughtering, don't allow mishandling of cows. So when people become more and more aware, then there will be a revolution in the society. Because people are more, they are kept in ignorance, and more they are ignorant, they will not bother about all these things. So that's why we are also inspired when we see several sadhus. They come forward to protect the cows. They are having some goshalas, and even if the cows don't give milk, they try to protect it. The government should take up more and more such projects. The government should be ready to come forward and protect the cows. Unfortunately, the leaders are not understanding this most important principle. The cows and bulls are protected nicely, country will completely the country will flourish. Everything will change. And just we see just one cow is being beaten. For that, Parikshit is so alert. He really wants. He's in the mood of killing the cow. But every day, thousands and thousands of cows and bulls are killed. Nobody is there to question. It's such all gundas. Gundas are there. If you very difficult. It should be from a very top down approach should happen to curtail this and control this. So that's why Srila Prabhupada's books will create revolution. More we distribute, more we meet leaders and preach to them. We preach to youngsters. We preach to all kinds of people about the importance of protecting the cows. Okay. Foolish people do not know how one earns happiness by making the cows and bulls happy. But it is a fact by the law of nature. Let us take it from the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam and adopt the principles for the total happiness of humanity. Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. How that will happen? That will happen only when we understand the Supreme Lord's wish. He is Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya. He is the protector of the cows and the Brahmanas. So unless they are taken care and they are pleased, society will be in desperate suffering. Text 4. Maharaj Parikshit, well equipped with arrows and bow and seated on a gold embossed chariot, spoke to him with a deep voice resounding like thunder. Prabhupada, this is really amazing. You see in this purport, the last 4 lines I'm just reading. The elected show bottle executive head as representative of a degraded public cannot be equal with a strong king like Maharaj Parikshit. The dress or style of royal order does not count. It is one's actions which are counted. So you may dress in a very fashionable way. You may have a particular. What are you speaking? What are your activities? What are you going to do about all these things? That's most important. So that's the whole point. I just made a point. The government of the Shudras, by the Shudras, for the Shudras. Such kind of a government, it's demon crazy. Prabhupada calls. That's what is happening now. See how crazy things happen in the elections. A party, there are 3 or 4 members in a party. Till the day just before the election, the election campaign will finish. Let's say will finish some 3 or 4 days before the actual election date. Sometimes you see a complete twist. The fellow who has been in this one party for last 10 years or 12 years, speaking some big principles, suddenly one fine day morning moves to the other party. It's all political. It's all for money, and everything is for. It's completely. There's nothing like he got a realization. These people are completely other. Now let us move to other party who are really dharmic principles. Because both the fellows are cheaters. So he is seeing that where I can cheat more, where what will be a benefit for me. That's how it is. So all mismanagement. Okay, well, let's go to the next verse. Text 5. Now, Parikshit really bold, and he's just fuming. He's speaking. Kastong macharane loke bhala damsya balank bali naradhevosi veshena natavat karmana dvijaha. Oh, who are you? You appear to be strong, and yet you dare kill within my protection those who are helpless. By your dress you pose yourself to be a man god, but by your deeds you are opposing the principles of twice born Kshatriyas. He's really furious. He's speaking, what kind of a person you are? You are dressed like a king? No? Kali was posing himself like a big king. But he's saying that you are completely opposed to the principles of the real kings. The Kshatriyas are supposed to protect the cows and the bulls, and what nonsense you are doing. So we can see that Parikshit, he is completely there for dharma. That's why we need a dharmic king. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are called twice born, because for these higher classes of men, there is one birth by parental conjugation, and there is another birth of cultural rejuvenation by spiritual initiation from the bona fide Acharya or spiritual master. It's a brilliant statement by Prabhupada. There is the twice born is the first birth is by parental conjugation, and then the second birth is by cultural rejuvenation. It's amazing. Parental conjugation all the time doesn't end up in cultural rejuvenation. There could be a possibility when the culture of the parents are really top class and they are themselves are Vaishnavas. Otherwise it doesn't happen. So the child is born by the parental conjugation, but by spiritual, what Prabhupada says, cultural rejuvenation, by the process of the spiritual initiation, one gets real Shakti, one can see things as they are in right perspective and do activities in right perspective, just for the welfare of the people whom the king himself wants to make them God conscious. That is his duty. Okay. Prabhupada further he says, in the age of Kali, the poor helpless animals, especially the cows, which are meant to receive all sorts of protection from the administrative heads, are killed without restriction. Thus the administrative heads under whose noses such things happen are representatives of God in name only. We can see here, Parikshit was just not the representative of God in name. He's really, you can see he's coming in the real parampara. He's coming in the parampara of the great devotees who are coming in the great dynasty of protecting the dharma. Arjuna was such a bold personality. Yudhishthira was a bold personality. They were all for dharma. And Parikshit, coming in that lineage, he was just sticking to his parampara. So we can learn one lesson from that. We should also stick to the parampara. We should never become loose in our following the principles of religion. We should think, so we are coming in which parampara? We're coming in the parampara of Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was very bold. He did revolution. He went to the West. So that's why we should just stick to our parampara. We should not, what do they say? Cubs are born to lions, give birth to lions. Tigers give birth to tigers. They don't give birth to rabbits. Correct? So we should be like that. We should just follow our parampara and be bold enough to represent our parampara as it is, not changing it. No one can expect justice or equality of treatment from once born spiritually uncultured lower class men. Therefore, in the age of Kali, everyone is unhappy due to the maladministration of the state. Another reason Prabhupada is giving. Sometimes we can see and we can observe what are the reasons for the unhappiness. So in the previous purport we can see he says that because the cows and bulls are not taken care, that is basically because of the maladministration of the state. Another reason Prabhupada is pointing out. Okay, text 6. Again he is very furious. Here he is just you rogue, do you dare beat an innocent cow because Lord Krishna and Arjuna, the carrier of the Gandiva bow, are out of sight? Since you are beating the innocent in a secluded place, you are considered a culprit and therefore deserve to be killed. So again, he was very furious and he wants to. So here, Prabhupada says in the purpose, such murderers of animals stand to be condemned to death by the order of a pious king like Maharaj Parikshit. For a pious king, the culprit who kills an animal in a secluded place is punishable by the death penalty, exactly like a murderer who kills an innocent child in a secluded place. So this is the point. Now here Parikshit, then you remember the rishis in the Naimisharanya, they were questioning what is it that why he has to punish? Come on, he should kill it, finish the business, kill it. Now Parikshit just saw the whole situation. He he spoke to the cow and he spoke to the bull, and then he really wants to, he's almost the sword in the hand, he's going to finish it. That's how, in that mood only, he's discussing. So again, further questions he's going to ask to the cow and the bull, and also he will be, he wants to ascertain before performing that act of killing, he wants to make sure that he's killing the right person. He doesn't want to take a hasty decision. So we will see all this conversation that will proceed. Okay. So I gave a title like this: Maharaj Parikshit questions and consoles the cow and the bull. So again, the theme you can see: humans and animals should be protected. That is the duty of the government. We will see here. Text 7. Then he, Maharaj Parikshit, asked the bull, "Oh, who are you? Are you a bull as white as a white lotus? Or are you a demigod? You have lost 3 of your legs and are moving on only one. Are you some demigod in the form of a bull who are causing us to grieve?" Text 8. Now, for the first time in a kingdom well protected by the arms of the kings of the Kuru dynasty, I see you grieving with tears in your eyes. Up till now, no one on earth has ever shed tears because of royal intelligence. Royal negligence. I'm sorry. Thank you for that. That's what I was wondering. Where is there intelligence? There is no intelligence. Again, I repeat that statement. Up till now, no one on earth has ever shed tears because of royal negligence. That means what? There were the kings in his parampara and in his whole lineage. The prajas were protected so nicely. There was never any mishappening. There were never any untoward incidents. They never allowed. And even when nobody was ready to perform it, because such a law-abiding nation, the God-conscious people were God-conscious. People were very considerate. You could never see the 4 relative principles broken during the Parikshit's reign or Yudhishthira's reign and like that. Your government must not discriminate in such principles. Which principles? Yeah, if you just see the statement above, the protection of the lives of both the human beings and the animals is the first and foremost duty of a government. So in these principles, so 2 things are being spoken about. One, the protection of human beings and protection of animals. Now the problem is, they say they don't put animals under the kingdom. They say praja means nothing, only human beings, which is a foolish thing. Prabhupada once was having a conversation with one, what do you call him as? Yeah, he's like a bishop of a church. Then he was saying that actually we should love all the humans. Like that he was giving us, he was sharing his thought to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said that, why only humans? Prabhupada was immediate question. Why only humans? Humans, animals, that's what a real compassion means. Everyone, all the living entities who are ignorant of the Lord, who are actually consciousness, like we discussed in the previous class. While when Prabhupada was saying when the animals are expressing that that they're pain, they're crying, they're showing emotions. It was painful when the cows or the bulls are brought to be slaughtered, right? So immediately Prabhupada, what is the point? You see, this is the proof that they are having consciousness, they are having feeling, they are having thinking, they are having willing, right? So how can you just say that the animals do not have a soul? It is foolishness. Your government must not discriminate in such principles. It is simply horrible for a pure-hearted soul to see organized animal killing by the state in this age of Kali. So this is the thing. Now this is the worst thing, that it's a very systematic way they are slaughtering. They have big factories. They have it's very painful. So much horrible things are going on. So Prabhupada says in the Prabhupada that it was shocking for Parikshit to see that the bull is crying. And one other Prabhupada says that it was shocking to see the bull being crying. What to speak of they are being massacred, they are being slaughtered, they are being harassed. What will the great kings like Parikshit or Yudhishthira or Priyavrata or Lord Ramachandra, they would dare to see such an incident. So that was mentioned. And also now there are 2 things. There is actually Srila Prabhupada also is discussing in other purports in one conversation also. So the cows are going to be slaughtered. Okay. So that's why also it has got a profound effect also. There's a lot of abortions also that is happening, right? Many children are aborted. In fact, what is the philosophy that they bring in? They say that it's just the termination of tissues, right? Some tissue you are terminating, that's all. And in the West, they even call it as tissue terminating theaters. Very abominable. And government doesn't know. It's how adharmic it is, how sinful it is. See, under only one condition, the abortion is allowed. You know what's the condition? Condition is that when the mother's life is at great risk, if sometimes a child is going to be born, the doctors at the early stage itself they diagnose that this child is going to, the birth of the child will be terrible disaster. Mother may not survive. There are a lot of chances that the mother is going to die. And in such cases, the principle is to save the life. In such case, an abortion is allowed. But that also, sometimes devotees are even more, they are more surrendered. They are ready to take the risk. One of our god sisters, she took a great risk when she herself is a doctor, and also when a situation came in that she made, so she really chanted, dependent on Krishna. She said that, and that there was also that even if a child is born, the child is going to not last a long time. Child may die soon. He may have multiple diseases, so it's not worth undergoing a delivery. But she took a great risk. She said, why I should be an instrument of killing a child? That is very highly individual. She was so surrendered. She took a risk. She prayed and she survived. The child also survived. I think the child was there awake, was there for a week or so, and then the child died. That was really glorious. We should really want to be so surrendered to do that. Generally, it's too much risk. See, the point is that if the child is going to die, but always the mother can give birth to another child. If the mother dies, then what's the hope? Then everything is gone. So in that case, it is okay. That case, according to time, place, situation, in consultation with Vaishnavas, you may take a decision. But right royally for nothing, now abortions are happening. That's okay. This is again the problem is with the government. The government is allowing such kind of things. In fact, they say better you use artificial ways by which you can stop giving birth to child, which is you may engage in as Prabhupada puts it here, the men and women may conjugate, but you see that it is in such a way the child is not born. So that means they use artificial contraceptives and all those things. Again, it's very highly sinful. What is the next sin? The next sin is by chance if a child is going to be born, then you abort it because you already have 2 children and the third child economically very unstable. You will not be able to run the family. You will not be the child. So many different reasons they give. It's all completely very much motivated, and they have some other they have a feeling that the population will be a population increase. But we can see in the previous years, even 15-20 years back also, every family there was 6 children, 8, 11, 12. This was normal. But now 1 or 2, that itself is a big thing. That's how it's being projected, and government is also promoting such kind of things. So this is another problem. Because they are faithless, they are non-believers of God. Okay, let's go to text 9. O son of Surabhi, now Parikshit is is soothing the cow and the bull that don't worry, I'm here, I'm going to give you protection. This we will see that never such kind of incident happens, and I'm going to take this Kali to a task. O son of Surabhi, you need lament no longer now. There is no need to fear this low-class Shudra. And O mother cow, as long as I am living as the ruler and subduer of all envious men, there is no cause for you to cry. Everything will be good for you. Bhadram, he says that. Bayam Rodi Amba Bhadram. Amba here refers to cow. Okay. But Maharaj Parikshit, I'm just reading some 5-6 lines from down. But Maharaj Parikshit and the Pandavas were fully conscious of the importance of the cow and bull, and they were prepared to punish the cow killer with all chastisement, including death. There has sometimes been agitation for the protection of the cow, but for want of pious executive heads and suitable laws, the cow and the bull are not given protection. The human society should recognize the importance of the cow and the bull and thus give all protection to these important animals, following in the footsteps of Maharaj Parikshit. For protecting the cows and Brahminical culture, the Lord, who is very kind to the cows and Brahmanas, will be pleased with us and will bestow upon us real peace. Again, Prabhupada is speaking about the secret of the real peace formula. So, if you follow in the footsteps of the great kings who have ruled the nation, who have from time immemorial, they have protected the cows and the bulls. And if we just follow that principle, society will be in peace. These kind of statements we should, make a lot of flyers. We should spread it out, and we should have several talks. In several talks, we should speak about all these things. Sometimes, there was one of my friend. He said that you should just leave Hare Krishna and all those things, and you should just come and then get into. You should be part of a something like you have this Society for Protecting Cruelty to Animals, SPCA. And there are some organizations which are coming forward to help with protecting cows. Of course, the point is that we just shared with our friend that you see that we are trying to do. We are trying to address the problem from the root. What we are trying to do, we are actually trying to address the problem from the root. Meaning, we are just explaining why the cows needs to be protected. What is wrong in killing the cows? What is wrong in eating animal flesh? We are very much protecting. We are trying to change the person itself. And you are actually out trying to stop cow protection, which is good. You please go ahead with that. We have an even more important job to do. They said, what you people are doing here? Then I explained that, you see, in our movement, so many people have been meat eaters before. But by coming in touch with this transcendental knowledge of Krishna consciousness, they have stopped eating meat. They don't even eat anything which is not offered to God, which is even higher principle. And not only that, they are preaching, they are promoting the Krishna consciousness, by which people can think really about what is life and death. What is it that we have to do? What is it that we need? We should not do. And that is great help. Well, you do your job, we will do our job. So that's the thing. So that's the point. So then that will bring peace to the society. O chaste one, the king's good name, duration of life, and good rebirth vanish when all kinds of living beings are terrified by miscreants in his kingdom. How many people know this? How many today's so-called leaders know this? It is certainly the prime duty of the king to subdue first the sufferings of those who suffer. Therefore, I must kill this most wretched man because he is violent against other living beings. When there is some disturbance caused by the wild animals in a village or town, this is amazing purport. Prabhupada, see the logic that Prabhupada is using. The police or others take action to kill them. Similarly, it is the duty of the government to kill at once bad social elements such as thieves, dacoits, and murderers. The same punishment is also due to the animal killers because the animals of the state are also the praja, which we discussed before. Praja means one who has taken birth in the state, and thus this includes both men and animals. Any living being who takes birth in a state has a primary right to live under the protection of the king. The jungle animals are also subject to the king, and they also have a right to live. So what to speak of domestic animals like the cows and bulls? Right? So we can see that's why during Ramayana time, during Mahabharata time, you can see sometimes animals also coming and then asking for justice. And now we don't see that now, but the government or the king should understand that they are also part of the community and they should be protected. You remember, in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, I think, when the Varnashrama divisions are explained, there is a big list given to the family members how they should give charity, how they should protect not only their own family members, but their pets, dogs. You remember reading that? Dogs, cats, birds. In fact, there is also a statement where the snake, whatever species are around his house, he should take care of all these things. It's a responsibility. Very, very high cultured philosophy. So this is something very high. And the king also instituted that. King also saw that how everyone is taken care. So they are very innocent animals, no? The innocent animals is protected. In another purport we will see Prabhupada is saying that why he calls the cows and bulls as innocent. Very nicely Prabhupada puts it. When we come there we will speak about that. Okay. Okay, please see the logic here. Prabhupada uses. The tiger can kill a lower animal for his subsistence. But a man cannot kill an animal for his subsistence. That is the law of God. Who has created the law that a living being subsists by eating another living being? That is the law of God, who has created the law that a living being subsists by eating another living being. Thus, the vegetarians are also living by eating other living beings. Therefore, the law is that one should live only by eating specific living beings as ordained by the law of God. The Ishopanishad directs that one should live by the direction of the Lord and not at one's sweet will. A man can subsist on varieties of grains, fruits and milk ordained by God, and there is no need of animal food, save and except in particular cases. So now, here Prabhupada is referring to everybody has been given a quota, and better you use that particular quota. Don't misuse the quota. And also, as the verse says, if you follow that everything is the creation of the Lord and whatever is allotted quota, if you follow those injunctions, then for the rest of the 100 years, the Ishopanishad says, you will be very peaceful. This is the point. There is no need of animal food, save and except in particular cases. The executive head must always be alert to the safety of the prajas, both man and animal, and inquire whether a particular living being is harassed at any place by another living being. The harassing living being must at once be caught and put to death, as shown by Maharaj Parikshit. Now you see cows are just loitering around, and they are eating plastic papers, just roaming around in the highways. Nobody bothers. They don't bother at all. Or sometimes some vehicle hits the cow, or because it's being uncared for. If any leader, if they know the importance of the protection of the cow and the bull, how careful they will be. They will see that it is not being mishandled. When somebody is exploiting it, immediately they will be addressed. So that because of complete ignorance, people are not aware of these important traits. Maharaj Parikshit quotes here that according to the codes of God, the irresponsible king or state executive jeopardizes his good name, duration of life, power and strength, and ultimately his progressive march towards a better life and salvation after death. Nice point, no? Prabhupada is making. Just think about this statement. Such foolish men do not even believe in the existence of a next life. See the points that Prabhupada is saying. Maharaj Parikshit quotes that according to the codes of God, the irresponsible king or state executive jeopardizes his good name. Name is gone. Duration of life, we saw in the verse that is being said. Name is gone, his lifespan is going to be reduced, the power and strength, whatever by tapasya he has performed, that will be lost, and his progressive march towards a better life, that is also lost. And he says that such foolish men do not believe in the existence of an next life, because it all comes to the theory that they don't accept the philosophy of the supreme powerful person or God. Everything is atheistic. They don't follow the codes of context of the Vedic text. So as a result, they don't believe in the rebirth and like that. Prabhupada is writing, while commenting on this particular verse, we have in our presence the statement of a great modern politician who has recently died and left his will, which discloses his poor fund of knowledge of the codes of God mentioned by Maharaj Parikshit. The politician was so ignorant of the codes of God that he writes, I do not believe in any such ceremonies, and to submit to them, even as a matter of form, would be hypocrisy and an attempt to delude ourselves and others. I have no religious sentiment in the matter. He had written a will that if I die, no need to do any ceremony or don't waste time doing any kind of ceremonies. There are so many rituals that are performed after death, right? He was never interested in that ceremony. So, the great Prime Minister of India, he was the one who said this statement. Our first Prime Minister. Contrasting these statements of a great politician in the modern age with those of Maharaj Parikshit, we find a vast difference. This is a sorry state of affairs. This is how he made that heavy statement. India had, in this Bharata Bhumi, there are such great personalities were kings. For example, there was in the South India, specifically this region of Tamil Nadu, there was Tamil Nadu, Kerala. In every part of in India, there were great saintly kings. One such king was, I think his name was Manu Nidhi Choran, if I'm not wrong. I didn't do the homework before coming for the class, but there are, you know about the Pandava Chora and Chera kings, right? So there is one Manu Nidhi Choran. What he did is, one time in his kingdom, there was a cow. The cow came to the Sabha, or there is a bell that always is hung. It came and rang the bell, and it was asking for justice. The justice was that the princess, actually, when he was driving his chariot, I think he somehow unintentionally, I guess, I think he hit the cow, the calf. The calf died because the chariot went out. So the king was so loyal, so righteous. He was not afraid. He was not attached. His only interest was to establish dharma. So he was ready to kill his son by driving the chariot. So that's why he was called. He was glorified for such an act. That was the country that we are all living in. But now it's all topsy-turvy. And we can also see the Lord himself has set example also when the devotees, whenever the demigods also does some mess or something, Krishna also is ready to protect his devotees. He gives shelter to his devotees. I was just thinking about a famous pastime of the Govardhan Leela. When Indra harassed his devotees, Krishna immediately came for rescue. Oh, he is one of the principal demigods. He didn't think like that. So that was a standard set by the Lord and his great devotees. But you see the pathetic situation in India today, what has happened. Okay. Maharaj Parikshit was pious according to the scriptural codes, whereas the modern politician goes by his personal belief and sentiments. Any great man of the material world is after all a conditioned soul. He is bound by his hands and feet by the ropes of material nature, and still the foolish conditioned soul thinks of himself as free to act by his whimsical sentiments. Foolish, faithless creatures try to avoid the existence of the Lord and proclaim themselves secular at the cost of valuable human life. The human life is especially meant for knowing the signs of God, but foolish creatures, especially in the age of Kali, instead of knowing God scientifically, make propaganda against religious belief as well as the existence of God, even though they are always bound by the laws of God, by the symptoms of birth, death, old age, and disease. Very simple, straightforward point. Your all so-called intelligence, your so-called strength, everything is gone for topsy-turvy. Everything is gone with the wind because you cannot stop death, you cannot stop birth, you cannot stop old age, you cannot stop disease. Immediately you can see that you are being controlled. So that's the point. Okay. Let's go to the next verse. He repeatedly addressed and questioned the bull thus, O son of Surabhi, who has cut off your 3 legs? In the state of the kings who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, there is no one as unhappy as you. So Prabhupada points out in the purport, in a state where the codes of Krishna are followed, no one is unhappy. Where such codes are not followed, the first sign is that the 3 legs of the representative religion are cut off. And thereby all miseries follow. So what are the 3 legs that are cut off?
Austerity, cleanliness, mercy.
Compassion. Okay. When Krishna was personally present, the codes of Krishna were being followed without question. But in his absence, such codes are present in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam for the guidance of blind persons who happen to be at the helm of all affairs. At the helm of all affairs means those who have taken the post where they are not qualified. They have taken such big posts, and as a result of that, they are blind and they are making people also blind. And by taking strict, if they will be saved if they follow the information that is given in the pages of Bhagavatam. Okay. O bull, text 30. O bull, you are offenseless and thoroughly honest. Therefore, I wish all good to you. Please tell me who is the perpetrator of these mutilations which blacken the reputation of the sons of Pritha. Now he is asking, he wants to know who has done the mess. Who has actually put you in such a distressful condition. Who is that? I want to know. Please tell the name. The reputations of the reign of Maharaja Ramachandra and the reigns of the kings who followed in the footsteps of Maharaja Ramachandra, like the Pandavas and the descendants, are never to be forgotten because in their kingdoms, offenseless and honest living beings were never in trouble. Please make a note of this point. Offenseless and honest living beings were never in trouble. So who are those being referred to?
Cows.
Yeah. Also, we can put one more category of human beings in this also. Who are those?
Brahmanas.
Brahmanas. Anybody else? For the previous chapters, anything? Women, old men, children. Correct. The bull and the cow are the symbols of the most offenseless living beings because even the stool and urine of these animals are utilized to benefit human society. You see, actually, if somebody is little normal person, how they can, sometimes when we go and then pat the cows, when we just, when you just massage the udders of the cow, we get a feeling of how, sometimes you can say devotee, when they do this, and they say, how rascals they are, how can they ever kill this cow? They are so pleasing and so innocent and so, they are so lovable. How one can just go and then attack such an innocent creature, right? No, we need to get the feeling. See, that feeling is not there, in a butcher, because he is so much lost all sense of discrimination by his meat eating. The descendants of the sons of Pritha, like Maharaj Parikshit, were afraid of losing their reputations, but in the modern days, the leaders are not even afraid of killing such offenseless animals. We already discussed. Herein lies the difference between the reign of these pious kings and the modern states ruled by the irresponsible executive heads without knowledge of the codes of God. So I also just made a note of an incident of Gopinath Patnaik. You remember what happened in the Chaitanya Charitamrita? Gopinath Patnaik was, I'm not going to get into the detailed story of that, but Gopinath Patnaik he did misuse the funds. He didn't do it, he was not loyal. So as a result, what happened? The son of Pratap Rudra, the princess, the prince, he went to another extreme. He said that we will put this Gopinath Patnaik in Chanka. That rod, sharp rod, when you just look, that the person who has committed a sin, they will just try to pierce with that rod. His back will be pierced and they will kill him like that. So when this news came to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that, why are you bringing all these things to me? That was a mistake that was done. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not interested in coming to rescue or something. But then again, it's another extreme thing. That's why we will see in the next chapter, I guess, there will be certain conditions, how much you can attack, how much you can, it should be proportionally, if somebody, what is the amount of sin someone has performed and what is the reaction he will get. There are some laws which that can be used. So now we can see here that those days they were very conscious of what is being happening. Somebody transgresses dharma, how he has to be dealt with, what should be done, and everything. But nowadays, if somebody does sinful thing, nobody bothers also. It's all might is right. That's what is the philosophy of now. And also another thing that we can see here in this condition, I just thought about another thing. He's asking, please tell me who is the perpetrator of these mutilations which blacken the reputation of the sons of Pritha. So he says that, we have such a lineage. First of all, tell who is the person who did it. Parikshit knew who it was. Because when he came to the scene, he saw Kali with the rod trying to beat the cow and the bull. But then why is he asking? Can you think about it? He wants to confirm. Yes, good. Yeah. Basically, he wants to make sure that he is going to punish the right perpetrator. Sometimes there could be different situation. Maybe there is a saying in Hindi or in other languages also, Bengali or whatever. In Tamil, there is a saying that Sometimes when you see with your eyes, that may not be true. Sometimes you hear, that may not also be true. But when you really put all the things in proper perspective and analyze, then you may come to a proper conclusion. You understand what I'm trying to say? Sometimes we have many times we give the example during this karma. We see an old man being beaten heavily. He was being punched, and some people say, "Oh, come on, such an old man! What nonsense you're doing! How dare you do such things?" When you see really it's something offensive is happening, you may see. But then when the inquiry was done, then they figured out that this old man had given poison for 20 children. And he killed all the 20 children. So that's why the 3 people were beating. So in that sense, when further investigation was done, although when you saw or when you heard, you felt very bad. But when the investigation was done, then you came to know about all the truth. Are you getting the point? So that was the whole thing. So we can see here, Parikshit was so careful. He's just making sure that the right person is given the punishment in the right way. So that's also another thing that we have to learn, right, in our lives. That we, before making a judgment, be clear what we are speaking. Just don't blabber something just by a small incident. Or sometimes it could also be somebody is in good standing, maybe by mistake he has done something, not that immediately he's being kicked out or he's being completely. It depends on vulnerability of a sin a person has performed. But so many things has to be taken into account. Are you able to understand what we are discussing here? Some lessons that we learn also from some incidents. We see how Vaishnava is dealing in a particular situation, and there is some lesson for us to learn, right? Okay. Text 14. Whoever causes offenses living beings to suffer. Now the next few sentences are based on the same theme. Whoever causes offenses living beings to suffer must fear me anywhere and everywhere in the world. By curbing dishonest miscreants, one automatically benefits the offenseless. Now, Parikshit is really so bold. He's saying that, properly addressing the point. It is a prime duty of the king or the executive head to give protection in all respects to the peaceful, offenseless citizens of the state. The devotees of the Lord are by nature peaceful and offenseless. And therefore, it is the prime duty of the state to arrange to convert everyone to become a devotee of the Lord. Thus, automatically, all the citizens will be peaceful and offenseless. Then, the only duty of the king will be to curb the dishonest miscreants that will bring about peace and harmony all over human society. So, that's why it's so important. These leaders has to be preached to. So, sometimes we are a tiny part of the society. How much we can do? Yes, our words, our purity will create transformation in society. And when such these thoughtful people, when they get this message and when they really can shake the society, when they are from high power, you can just imagine, like you have. So let's say we'll discuss some practical example. We are going for some preaching program. Let's say we're going to some college. Okay, in the college, let's say the entire manager, the chairman of the college, he is fully in favor of Vedic principles. He's really appreciating the message of Bhagavad Gita. He's appreciating the message of Bhagavatam. He has great respect for devotees, and he feels that this knowledge has to be given for children. They has to be given to their students. It has to be given to the boys and girls. Otherwise, they are going to right royally suffer in whatever positions they are after going through this college. Well, there's another discussion. Do we need an atheistic college? But keeping in our practical situation, current situation, if this knowledge of Bhagavatam and Gita is introduced in the colleges and the schools, then there is some hope for humanity. Because you can see in so many bright, so-called bright community, they are all the sons and daughters are all in some top-notch colleges and universities. But so there, if you have a very favorable chairman who is completely, let's say he's a devotee, then what will happen? He will definitely be very favorable to run some programs. He will be able to go and preach the message of Gita. He'll be able to preach the message of Bhagavatam, and there will be many people becoming devotees, and that will save the situation. So the point that I'm giving this example is that if we have people who are in the post of leaders, I'm just giving one particular institution. An institution, if you have a leader who himself has understood the principles of religion, then that will be such a favorable situation. But on the other hand, when we have atheistic government, we have completely atheistic leaders, they are not going to allow to help us distribute books. They are not going to allow help us to conduct a program. They'll be really demoniac. They'll just try to curtail whatever spiritual programs we try to do. So pathetic situation that we see here. That Parikshit was such a person. He saw that this whole society was Krishna conscious, and he also not only just he was also ready to preach this message to help people become Krishna conscious. So such an important message we have. That's why Prabhupada was a visionary. He really wanted to go up front. He wanted to go meet all big leaders, give them about this knowledge, preach to them in all fields, in science, in sociology, in law, in politicians, all kinds of fields. Prabhupada wanted to go and meet, and then he wanted to have a big change in the society. That's why Prabhupada will always send his disciples to go and meet big people. This Prabhupada had that vision that, when we just from top down approach, when the top not people are taking up this message, then there will be great revolution in the society. Okay, are you getting the point? What we are doing? What is the Parikshit speaking here? What we are relating to? Any upstart living being who commits offences by torturing those who are offenceless shall be directly uprooted by me, even though he be a denizen of heaven with armor undecorated. This is a nice, very interesting thing to point again. So we can see here any upstart living being here means that some people, they never had any big qualification or anything. They just like that came to power. Okay. So when these kind of people who commit all kinds of nonsense activities. So he says that Parikshit says that I don't give a fig for whomsoever it is. Even if somebody from heaven it may be. So when we just thought about it, you see how he is able to be with such confidence. He is able to speak. Sometimes you know what, the minister has come. Who did this? You can see in some places the police hands are tied. They will never do anything because they say that some criminal activity has happened. Who was involved? The son of the minister or an MLA. So they will never be able to do anything because they will get phone calls. They will be harassed, or they will themselves will be attacked by some gundas. Many times we see many movies. I don't have to say. And some of the movies, whatever that it is shown there, it's not some false story. Definitely the real story they take it as movies. But it just remains the movies as movies, and nobody learns a lesson from that. But that's a truth. So the point here is that I just heard you say, he said, even if let him be a Gandharva or a Devata or from a higher planetary system, I will just see that justice happens. Parikshit is so powerful king. When you discuss about this, you all know the story of how Arjuna was bold enough. Remember when the Duryodhana, the Kauravas were attacked by the Gandharvas, Chitraratha, right? So the Yudhishthira was asked for help. And Bhima was not, let them suffer, he was in that mood. But then, Yudhishthira said, come on, they are part of our family, we have 100 brothers. Yudhishthira was so noble. He was always thinking how to help, and he never had this animosity. It's a big story. Arjuna came for rescue. Arjuna came, and then they knew Arjuna's power, and then the Gandharvas, they just surrendered. So he was not afraid. He was ready to fight. He was ready to protect. So Parikshit is coming in that parampara. So he was also so bold. He was not afraid of anybody, whatever maybe the power they had, weapons they had. He was for instituting dharma. He was ready to do any activity. So that's the message. Okay, here Prabhupada is nicely pointing out. He's saying that, see, the same point Prabhupada is speaking of. He says, Maharaj Parikshit challenges even such denizens of heaven if they torture the offenseless. This means that the state executive head must be as strong as Maharaj Parikshit, so that he may be determined to punish the strongest offenders. It should be the principle of a state executive head that the offender of the courts of God is always punished. Okay. The supreme duty of the ruling king is to give all protection to law-abiding persons and to chastise those who stray from the ordinance of the scriptures in ordinary times when there is no emergency. Okay, this is another interesting point is being discussed. In an emergency situation, emergency means it's really an emergency situation. Animals can be, when there is no food to eat, you can eat the animal flesh. See, Prabhupada points out. It is said that the apada dharma. So in Tamil also we have this word abat. Abat means danger. So apada dharma or occupational duty at times of extraordinary happenings. It is said that sometimes the great sage Vishwamitra had to live on the flesh of dogs in some extraordinary dangerous position. In case of emergency, one may be allowed to live on the flesh of animals of all description. But that does not mean that there should be regular slaughterhouses to feed the animal eaters. That this system should be encouraged by the state. No one should try to live on flesh in ordinary times simply for the sake of the palate. If anyone does so, the king or the executive head should punish him for gross enjoyment. So we know this point. And another point is that also there are some people who are having completely misconstrued philosophy. What is that? The philosophy is that everything in this world is meant for enjoyment. God has created the plants, animals. They don't speak about plants. God has created all the animals for our own enjoyment. I mean, actually, my first experience was that when I was going in a bus, I just met one Christian in the bus. He was just, they are, what to say, they are very dynamic people. They will just try to catch many youngsters and try to preach. They will just like that start some discussion. So this fellow was sitting next to me. He showed me one small pamphlet. I think he is from some Pentecostal mission or whatever. He showed me a pamphlet, and then in that there was a photo. There was a bird. There were rivers, and in the say that God created everything for man's enjoyment. So and then he just started conversation like that, and then I was nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. I was never in ISKCON or anything before. So but one thing I felt when I just heard this, I felt that what is this? God created everything for enjoyment. So enjoyment, how you can get enjoyment by killing? This is a question I asked. How you can get enjoyment by killing some living entity and then you can get pleasure? No, everything is for our happiness. That's what God says. As I said, it is some foolish, bogus philosophy. So this again another misunderstanding, and also in that then as Prabhupada is discussing here that in emergency situation it is allowed, but even in emergency situation sometimes we see sadhus, they are ready to die also, but there may be some higher purpose. Remember, it should not be misused. Srila Prabhupada said that told Harikesh Maharaj for preaching in places like Norway and this Denmark and Greenland, Iceland and other nations where very difficult to even sometimes to get any food to eat. Prabhupada said that you can, for sake of preaching, you may do by even eating fish or something like that. Prabhupada said that you can do that. So for higher purpose, sometimes in very extreme situations, but as of now, everything is available. There is no need for anything like that. So that's the whole thing. Now we are just moving to a very important section of the of this entire chapter. So please focus your attention on this. Now, very peacefully, Dharma heard all the consoling statements by Maharaj Parikshit, and now in response to the question that he has asked, what is the question he asked? Yes, who is the perpetrator? Please tell me who did this. Now, Dharma is going to respond. After hearing the bull's reply, Maharaj Parikshit recognizes the bull to be the personality of religion, Dharma, and begins to answer him with words full of respect. Text 17. The personality of religion said, "These words just spoken by you befit a person of the Pandava dynasty. Captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas, even Lord Krishna, the personality of God, had performed duties as a messenger." So nice point. Immediately Dharma is saying that you are such a personality, Parikshit, that it's no surprise that we are hearing such statements from you, that you are ready to protect, you are going to save us, you are going to give protection. Because even the Supreme Lord, Krishna, Gunaganai Krishno, Dhautyado Bhagavan Kritaha. So he came as a messenger. For what? Just because he was so captivated by all the devotees who have come in your parampara, They were all great, but they all had such affection for the Lord. So immediately he's addressing. So here, the another point that we need to remember is that whatever Parikshit Maharaj spoke is not like the modern day politicians. They give before winning the elections, they give so many different promises, and they never keep up the promise. Of course, also the different promises that they give are all nonsense things they give. They said we will give you 10 cylinders. You will never for all the housewives you will give salary. From where they'll get money? Again, from us only they're going to get money. And the foolish public also, they do not know. Well, some of the public also know. Anyway, so many are cheaters, and let's see which politician will give us some benefit. It's all cheaters and cheaters. Anyway, so the point is that here we can see the statements of Parikshit is all not some empty words. It's full of strong emotions and sentiments. He keeps by his word. The Maharaj said that even the denizens of heaven could not escape his stringent government if they were the violators of religious principles. He was not falsely proud, for a devotee of the Lord is equally as powerful as the Lord, or sometimes. This is again an amazing statement. He was not falsely proud, for a devotee of the Lord is equally as powerful as the Lord, or sometimes more powerful by his grace. And any promise made by a devotee, though it may be ordinarily very difficult to fulfill, is properly executed by the grace of the Lord. So a devotee has got such a power that Krishna will empower him. Krishna will give him all the strength, and he can perform tasks which are unimaginable. That's what Prabhupada is acknowledging here. So, and also, here the devotee is called Satya Sankalpa. Whatever devotee says, it's truth. So Prabhupada, whenever Srila Prabhupada, he wished some things, he expected some things, he said some things, those things will happen. Because the Lord will help him to accomplish that. Because he is Ekatvam, there is Ekatvam. The Lord's desire and the devotee's desire are in the same track or in the same point. Okay. Now, so far we saw there is a Parikshit is trying to protect the animals, is trying to protect the innocent animals, human beings. The theme, now there is a different shift in the theme. Now in this particular theme, the main point, the main discussion is about what is the root cause of suffering. Please keep this in mind in the next in the verses that we are going to discuss. Why there is a suffering, and the entire discussion is all about that. And what is it all about? Now let's see. Text 18. O greatest among human beings, it is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings, because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. I'm going to summarize some of the things. Some of the discussions are very deep, but I'm going to give summarize points. So now we know for any activity there could be cause and effect is being discussed. In fact, the Vedanta Sutra, the discussion is about cause and effect. What is the cause, and what is the result of some action? What is the effect? There's a discussion about it. So here, the bull, being very intelligent, it is discussing about the various philosophy that is being proposed. When he asks who did this, he says, what should I say? Who did this? So that's when the response from the bull, he says, because we are bewildered by all the different opinions of theoretical philosophers. So Vakya Beda Vimohitaha. So he says, so there is bewilderment. So many philosophers say so many things which appear to be true to some extent. Now, who is the cause? How to say? Now, please keep this in mind, this point that we discussed. We'll again come back to this point. Okay? So Prabhupada says, although the bull or the personality of religion and the cow, the personality of the earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their suffering, still, as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. According to the Padma Purana, our present trouble is due to the fructifying of seedling sins. But even those seedling sins are also gradually fade away by execution of pure devotional service. That even if the devotees see the chief mischief mongers, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings thinking them to be God-given in small doses. For otherwise, the suffering should have been greater. Okay? Actually, the entire discussion, this is the most essential point of the entire discussion, that you don't blame someone else for the suffering that you are undergoing. The suffering is because of our own actions that we have done in our past lives. We have already sown the seed and the seeds are fructified. So this is the understanding of a Vaishnava. So Vaishnava never points fingers. Oh, I broke my leg. I had this problem. I am having this suffering. I am that. You are, because you poked your nose. That's why many times we see those who are very sober, when somebody is pointing out some mistakes on someone, they always try to think, oh, how I can improve. The others who are very neophyte, they always try to prove that. They don't even hear that you have done a mistake, and they always try to prove, but they don't try to improve. Okay. Now, see how a Vaishnava looks at it. So, you see here, he doesn't point out fingers that he is the cause. Then, we will also see. Well, he never says that. He says, oh, he is just an instrument in this cause, that's all. He is not to be blamed. I am to be blamed. Who knows what I did? I do not know what I did in my previous life. So then the whole philosophical understanding comes there, that maybe I should have been suffering more than this. But it is all because of the mercy of the Lord, my suffering has been reduced to this much. Or my suffering is up to this. This is all the Lord's arrangement. He's purifying me. And then we will see the discussion that I'll just speak about it later. So this much, because Purport speaks about this, we will see this. So there is no point in blaming the government. There is no point in blaming the elders. There is no point in blaming our parents. There is no point in blaming our teachers. There is no point in blaming our environment. Actually, the blame should be taken on ourselves. Are you getting the point? This is a very important philosophical point we need to understand. It's not some brainwashing philosophy. This is the reality. This is the proper understanding. This is the Vaishnava way of looking at things. As a government, as a king, as a teacher, as a lawmaker, as any person in a responsible position, you should find out the real perpetrator and you should give sufficient punishment. But as an individual, if we think that he is the cause of my problem, then we are really number one fools. Why it is so? As we go through some more verses, we will get to know about it. Speculative philosophers, however, do not recognize the sanction of the Lord. They try to find out the cause of sufferings in their own way, as will be described in the following verses. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, such speculators are themselves bewildered. And thus they cannot know that the ultimate cause of all causes is the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. Why he says that they themselves are bewildered?
That's why they are doing the speculation.
Yes, that's the point. They are bewildered. They are not completely surrendered souls. When someone is not completely surrendered, then there is always bewilderment. And because of bewilderment, you will come up with the various philosophies that could be out of logic, that could be out of analysis, that could be out of your some of your perceptions, some of your what you have seen. Several philosophies you will come up with, which may be true to some extent, but it will not be a conclusive statement as the conclusion comes from the Supreme Lord or comes with the sanction of the Lord. Okay, so let's. So here is a small discussion. I'm just quoting from. We are just going to see what Prabhupada summarize that. Here, Vishnu Chakravarti says, "I do not know the person from whom the seeds of suffering will arise." Bull is speaking. Why do you conceal the person? Parishit is asking. I even see the person who is giving you suffering. Parishit is saying, no, I am seeing right. He is giving the suffering. No, he is the one who bet you. No, true, he is giving me suffering, but there should be a seed of my suffering because of which he gives me suffering. It cannot be otherwise. I do not know that person from whom the seed arises. But you know, when Parishit says, but you know scriptures, why do you not know? True, knowledge of many scriptures is the cause of misunderstanding them. Then there is a statement like this from Bull. Now, please observe this. We will come back why he is speaking like this. Very interesting. Some of the philosophers, those who deny all sorts of duality, declare that one's own self is responsible for his personal happiness and distress. Others say that superhuman powers are responsible, while yet others say that activities are responsible. And the gross materialists maintain that nature is the ultimate cause. Now, the 6 philosophies are coming into play here. Now, some of the Sankhyas say that the 24 elements are responsible. The atheists say that ultimately everything is material nature, it's all atoms. Then the Karma Mimamsaka says that it's all, whatever action you do, everything is bound by the action. Even God is bound to your action, then He has to respond to your action. Whatever you do your activity, then you will get appropriate result. Even the Devatas are controlled by that. So everybody has got a different reasons for some of the different reasons for the cause of some activity. So please go through this statement. So when you go through this purport, basically the discussion of the 6 philosophies is spoken here, and we can all proper is quoting here in the Bhagavad Gita 6.5 also it is confirmed that by one's mind freed from material affection, one can deliver himself from the sufferings of material pangs. So one should not entangle oneself in matter by the mind's material affection. Thus one's own mind is one's friend or enemy in one's material happiness and distress. You see, these many reasons may be true to some extent. Certain things will be true to some extent. We cannot tell that as a final cause. Okay, there will be different levels of causes. But the problem with these philosophers is that they conclude that atoms are the final cause. Some of them they say that this material nature is the final cause. Some of them they say that your actions are the final cause. Your mind is actually binding you. So this is what they conclude. They stop there. They say that's why these are all atheistic. You understand? Are you able to follow what we are speaking here? Okay. So Prabhupada further he says, atheistic, materialistic Sankhyas conclude that material nature is the cause of all causes. According to them, combination of the material elements are the cause of material happiness and distress, and disintegration of matter is the cause of freedom from all material pangs. Gautama and Kannada find that atomic combination is the cause of everything, and impersonalists like Ashtavakra find that the spiritual effulgence of Brahman is the cause of all causes. You see the gradual evolution of the 6 systems of philosophy. Patanjali speaks about the process of yoga, and then gradually the Mayavadis, the impersonalist proposal of Brahman, all those things are gradually, and therefore he, the personality of God, is the ultimate cause of all causes. It is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita that Lord Krishna is the ultimate cause of all causes. So who says this? The 6 systems of Vedic philosophy. Who says that ultimate cause is Supreme Lord Sri Krishna? Vyasadeva. Yeah, Vyasadeva finally concludes. Then that's why this Vedanta Darshana is that finally concludes this. So Prabhupada says this in the purport. So now the bull is giving the different points that some different people say different things. So you yourself take a call, like that he's going to say. So now that's what in text 20 is going to happen. Apratarkyad anirdeshyad itikeshvapi nishchayah. So he says that there are also some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation. So not by different argumentation, different thing you can never come to a conclusion, they say. Nor know it by your own imagination and your own thought process, also you cannot come to a conclusion. So this is what Bull, he presented that there are different philosophies proposed by different philosophers, and also this also a philosophy which is being proposed just by argument or by different analysis, also you cannot come. Like this, so many philosophers are coming up with so many causes and effect. Now you please you decide by your own. Atranu rupam rajarishe vimrshas swamanishaya. So manishaya, by your own power of intelligence, you judge vimrshaitat. So you judge yourself what is correct. Now Prabhupada's purport is very interesting to this. As explained above, the Vaishnavites, the devotees of the Lord, believe that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Director, for he confirms the Bhagavad Gita 15:15 that he, as all pervading Paramatma, stays in everyone's heart as a witness and keeps vigilance over all actions of the living being. So what's the point here? Prabhupada is trying to say here, ultimately Krishna is the cause of all causes. Krishna is the cause behind everything. The argument of the atheist is that one cannot be punished for one's misdeeds unless they are proved before a qualified justice is refuted herein. So Prabhupada discusses about how as Paramatma, the Lord is seated in someone's heart, he is a witness, he is able to see everything. So it is foolish to say that, oh, nobody has seen, so you cannot come to a conclusion. But the Lord is the witness, the 10 directions are the witness, the demigods are the witness. So many witnesses are there. So that's what Prabhupada is pointing out here. The Paramatma feature, the Supreme Soul, is actually the witness of all activities of the living being. And only by his direction can the living being remember or forget what he might have done in the past. The Lord is therefore both the all-pervading. So Prabhupada in this particular purport is establishing that the Lord is the ultimate cause of everything, and here he says that he is defeating the idea of the atheist that that you cannot say that there is nobody to judge. The Lord is a witness and he is able to see everything. Now, and again Prabhupada is here quoting a very interesting statement saying that it's very difficult to understand why such and such an event happened, why a particular person is suffering because in this situation, why he has undergone this distress. Nobody can say that, and he is quoting Bhishma Dev's statement. Bhishma Dev correctly estimated the inconceivable actions of the Lord. The conclusion is therefore that the sufferings of the representative of religion and the representative of the earth, as present before Maharaj Parikshit, were planned to prove that Maharaj Parikshit was the ideal executive head because he knew well how to give protection to the cows and the brahmanas, the two pillars of spiritual advancement. This is amazing. Prabhupada is very much in line with the commentary of Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. He says that there could be several reasons why this situation has happened. One reason is that Dharma himself will say that, see, probably we are undergoing the situation because the Lord wants to establish that Parikshit is a great king. He can give protection to all the prajas in this state. And you see, these cows and bulls were in difficulty. He immediately came and then he wanted to He wanted to give protection. He wanted to kill the Kali. So in that way, glory comes for Parikshit. Second thing, by us undergoing such a kind of a suffering, the Lord wants us to, we will experience some purification. That could also be Lord's plan. So some amazing things he's discussing. So this is how a Vaishnava also should look into a situation. He should not question, does the Lord have eyes? Now, I am a surrendered devotee for so many years. How can this happen to me? How can an accident happen? Well, many times we have discussed many things like this. So that's the stand of a devotee. And we will just see the commentary also. So very interesting discussion goes on. So I'm going to read that particular section also. The Vaishnavas ascertain that the happiness and suffering come from the Supreme Lord, who cannot be determined by designations. Shruti, I'm not going to read all those. One who knows you cannot understand your connection with good and bad qualities, which give auspiciousness and inauspiciousness. Yeah, so somebody will not be able to understand what is good and what is bad just by seeing the situation. How to understand what is good and what is bad, that only when you are in connection with God you will be able to understand. Now we will see. Now he is giving a quotation for that. Now it's an amazing quote. He says, pleasure, pain, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, infamy, all these various states of the living beings arise only from me. Krishna gives all the qualities that you see in the world, actually it arises me. But why should it be impossible to designate the Lord as the cause? From seeing people suffering arising from time, karma, property of matter, planets, ghosts, kings, snakes and sickness, even those things cannot be determined as the cause, since in reality those causes are not independent. See, it's a very interesting statement. You please observe. See that when we are suffering, what could be the possible causes we can say? We could say it's all because of time, sir, or my karma is like this, and then you can say it's very much related with some particular property of any. It could be any matter, or my influence of my grahas, planets, or this particular person is affected by some ghosts, or because this particular leader has put me into this difficulty, or it could be from some animals, snakes, or one may be suffering from vulnerable diseases. So there could be various causes. He says that you cannot say that is the cause. You cannot say, because those causes are not independent. Are you able to understand? Okay, that's what here is being raised. Everything arises from the Lord, but it is improper for the worshippers to say that the Lord is the cause of happiness and distress. But at the same time, this is our understanding. Can you say that everything arises from God? See, this God is only the cause of all these things. So he is raising again another point that you cannot blame God for your suffering and distress. Now, be thoughtful. Now the discussion goes on. But like and dislike do not exist in the Lord. Yes, he is beyond conjecture. Beyond conjecture, you cannot understand the Lord by your logic and your big discussion and by your argument and by he is beyond that. Apratarkya. Because beyond our logical abilities, he does not have like and dislike, in spite of being the ultimate cause of happiness and distress. So it's a little bewildering. You are saying he is the cause of happiness and distress. At the same time, you are saying that he is not the cause of your happiness and distress. It's a little confusing. That's the whole point. Apratarkya here, the Dharma is saying here. It's beyond discussion. Why the Lord does some things, you can't just pin it down. So that's why various reasons we will see. So now this is why this verse is quoted. Nahyasya karhichid rajan puman veda vidit sitam yad vijignya saya yukta muhyanti kavayopihi. Even the great kavis, the great personalities are bewildered. They are not able to understand the cause for the particular problem. Why it is? No, just leave it as Lord's plan. Just accept it as Lord's plan, and later it may be revealed. Many people could not understand. Many people they question, how is that such a poor innocent Abhimanyu was killed in the battle? There could be so many examples we can take. I'm just giving you one example. But the Lord had some plan. There is some reason why he had to undergo such a thing. So like that, there are so many examples. When we just very peacefully look at it, then we will be able to understand how the Lord has a plan for every activity. Now, when we are in the gunas, we will never be able to see it. Okay. So here, it can be inferred that the Lord gives suffering to me for benefit. So here is the discussion that we spoke before. It can be inferred that the Lord gives suffering to me for benefiting the devotees. It desires to increase remembrance of the Lord. See, for benefiting the devotees, the Lord may put you into such a situation. It desires to increase remembrance of the Lord by increasing the miserable condition of developing devotees like me, the bull. You see, for he makes the devotees to get purified. For example, we'll say take a case of Chitraketu. In one purport, Prabhupada says he became slightly proud. He says, although there was no great offense that he committed, even Shiva also did not take it, but the idea was to bring quickly Chitraketu to the Lord's abode. The Lord was making some arrangement. That is one perspective that we see. Like that, several examples can be seen that the Lord will arrange some things for the devotee. This is the difference between a devotee and a non-devotee. A devotee will take it in a very good spirit. We can take the example of Srivas Thakur. He was humiliated. Who humiliated this? What's his name? That fellow Gopal Chakur. Yeah. Gopal Chakur. He will just keep all, in front of Srivas Thakur's house. He will keep all meat and blood and this and that. And he will insult him. Like anything. Old people will just be, what is this Srivas Thakur? What is he doing? But it was so cool. He said, Lord has some plan. He will not be rebellious. He will just be cool. People, over due course of time, they will understand. Immediately, Gopal will have heavy leprosy. Some people who knew his position, they will be able to appreciate. There was one devotee. Then again, another contrasting example. R.C. Babu, which is quoted in Sri Bhakti-vaibhava. R.C. Babu was a great devotee of Lord Gauranga. He claimed himself to be a great devotee of Lord Gauranga. And his daughter was a great devotee also. His daughter apparently had such a heavy sickness, she almost died. She died actually because of the disease. Then R.C. Babu, such a devotee of Gauranga, became an atheist. Said Gauranga is there? Is he there? Is he a person? So like this, okay. Among the various opinions, which is the best? You decide by your intelligence, the proper truth, Anurupam, because you are a sage among kings. As well, he wants to announce the fame of the highest. That's what I said. There's one more point there. As well, he wants to announce the fame of the highest devotee like you by your punishing Kali. So, very nicely, the bull is saying all these things. Okay. Okay. So, by using the word Nishchaya at the end of the list of opinions, this final opinion should be taken as the correct conclusion according to the Vaishnavas. By saying among all of them, Keshu, it is indicated that this idea is very rare. The king should consider this among the various alternatives. Happiness and distress are not illusory because suffering is actually experienced. Its cause is not the Atma itself, since the Jiva is dependent. See, very nicely, this conclusion is here. Please try to observe this statement. See, the thing is that happiness and distress are not illusion. It is reality because we are undergoing the suffering. So one may say that it is because of mind. Some philosophers may say ultimately it's all because of mind and you. This is why suffering. He says that it can also not be the total cause because jiva is dependent. The cause is not the planets because they are dependent on the movement of time. So ultimately it's all because they'll say my son is actually now undergoing Sani dosha. Once he crosses that, he will be super first class till the time. So okay, is that the ultimate cause? So the cause is not the planets because they are dependent on movement of time. The cause of suffering and happiness is not karma because it is insentient. Because karma is also dependent. It is not acting on its own. So that is what it is. Moreover, the man of dharma following the path has prarabdha and aprarabdha karmas. If so, then their idea that following the path of karma destroys suffering is negated. So even see, as long as you are having a just do your karma. This is the karma mimamsaka's philosophy. Just do your karma. By doing good karma, you will always be going to Swarga. But what about Shine Punya Martya Lokam Vishanti? That is okay. Even if you fall down, again you do good karma, again you go. This is their nonsense philosophy. So, but your repetition, this philosophy is defeated. You are again and again, according to your prarabdha and aprarabdha, you are going to just suffer. So, that is also not the proper conclusion. So, basically, he is defeating all the philosophies. And then he says, Swabhava is not the cause since it is not an exclusive cause. Again, he says that, okay, it's all your acquired traits. Because of your previous karma, everybody has got different natures. And even that nature is also not conclusive because your nature can be changed by surrendering to the Lord. So that is also not the final cause. So then he says, Bhishma has already said that the plan of the Lord, however, is impossible for everyone to understand. So in conclusion here, the point is that the ultimate cause is the Lord of whatever, even a grass cannot move without the will of the Lord, right? Ultimate cause. I will just take some extra 10 minutes today because this is one section I just want to complete. So the Lord is the ultimate cause. Okay, but when we say Lord is the ultimate cause, at the same time we cannot blame the Lord for our suffering. This is the Vaishnava way of understanding. So the Lord has got a plan. We accept the plan of the Lord. We accept the plan of the Lord, then we are purified, and soon we are going to get the mercy of the Lord. Actually, we have got the mercy of the Lord. That's the reality. But when we accept the plan of the Lord, and soon we will be able to come close to the Lord when we just undergo this purification. So this should be the proper understanding. Now, such an important purport. Next purport, text 21. Prabhupada's purport is so amazing. He is making an important point. Now, Sutta Goswami is speaking. Sutta uvacha evam dharme pravadhati sa samrad dvija sattamaha samahitena manasa vikeda paryachashtatam. Sutta Goswami said, O best among the Brahmanas, the Emperor Parikshit, thus hearing the personality of religion speak, was fully satisfied and without mistake or regret he gave his reply. Okay, I mean text 23 I think. Okay. Text 22. Oh, the king said, Oh, you who are in the form of a bull, you know the truth of religion and you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of religious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. So this is the point. That is why in our life, we should never simply put the blame on others for our misgivings. Easy to put the blame on others. But you see, this is another important principle we should be learning from Bhagavatam. When you put the blame on others, the person whomsoever has done apparently, who has been an instrument in your karma, the reaction that he is going to get, the same reaction we are also going to get when you point finger on that particular person. No, we should also not misunderstand this philosophy. Let's say someone is doing, so let's say I am doing something really bad to this Lakshmi Narayan. No, I just slapped him heavily. For no good and for nothing, I have slapped. Okay, you have seen that I have slapped. Now you say that, oh, I should not point out the perpetrator. That's not the philosophy. He should understand it that, okay, instead of being completely in depressive state, how could he beat me? I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything. How could he beat me? He didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Like that, he can just be completely mental. The highest philosophical understanding of the Vaishnava Acharya teaches us that, oh, I deserved even much more. It just went with a slap. I don't know what the heavy thing I did in my previous life. So I went. This is your understanding. Now, from another perspective, that you have seen somebody is questioning you. He's asking you what happened. His whole face is completely pink. I see some 5 marks. Who bet it? And this is wrong from your side. You understand? So you understand. So why I am just giving this example is that we should not misuse the philosophy. At the same time, proper understanding should also be there. Okay. On another interesting point also, now there is one more point to add here. This is again very interesting. Now you should not be mental about all the time thinking about, wow, this is a crazy thing, he did this. This is a crazy thing, he did this. He's so bad, he did this. He's so. Now what the Shastras are saying is that this bad quality, what you have seen in me, that you will pick up that also. It's very subtle, this philosophy, When you just always try and speak about a bad quality of a person, you're going to pick up that bad quality. Amazing, no? So that means what? You see something, you've seen, you have to rectify it, and you have to learn how not to do that, and you should just go forward in your life. But if you start contemplating on that, then you are going to also do the same thing. Are you able to understand? Okay. Now let's see what Prabhupada is saying in this purport. Did we read the translation fully?
Yes.
Huh? Okay. The devotee's conclusion is that no one can become a benefactor or mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. So now don't get carried away. The Prabhupada summarizes all the things what Krishna Chakravarti Thakur said here. I just read because that section was very relevant. Here Prabhupada, see how he is concluding. And one more point Prabhupada is saying, this is very amazing. You please keep your eyes and ears open, more ears open. Okay. Your devotee's conclusion is that no one can become benefactor or mischief monger without the sanction of the Lord. And therefore the devotee does not consider anyone to be directly responsible for such action. No? But in both the cases, he takes it for granted that either benefit or loss is God sent. This is the point. It's all the Lord's mercy. He says it's God's plan, but he doesn't blame God. He is the cause, He doesn't say like that. He says, my Lord has got some plan. Let me take it out. Easy to speak, easy to hear, very difficult to follow. But that's why we are here to hear Bhagavatam. It is pushing us to become pure devotees. It is pushing us to rise from the three modes of material nature, right? So that's why either you have to be either you be a crow or a swan. Nothing in between. Bhagavatam doesn't allow us to be a duck. It pushes us to become a swan. Okay, that's what it is. Okay. In case of benefit, no one will see. Nice point Prabhupada is discussing. In case of benefit, no one will deny that it is God sent. Will anybody say when someone is in very pomp and splendor, everything is wonderful, it's all God? He will not say that. I was such a powerful person. I worked hard with both my hands, and I used to study under the light. And I didn't even have money to buy tea. And today he's the owner of some very big multi-million company, and he has so many estates and this and that. But when problem happens, some tragedy happens. There was one very rich person here in Salem, in Shavapet. His son died and he started blaming God like anything. But till when we had so many facilities, all for the house and money and everything, whenever you go and ask him for some help to use his land or to put donation, just to give his land for some function or festival, he will be like, such a demon, he will never ever. He will act like a paka atheist. Never recognize God. So this is a point. Okay. But in case of loss or reverses, one becomes doubtful about how the Lord could be so unkind to his devotee as to put him into great difficulty. Jesus Christ was seemingly put into such great difficulty, being crucified by the ignorant, but he was never angry at the mischief mongers. That is the way of a devotee. That is the way a devotee accepts a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. And thus for a devotee, the identifier is as much a sinner as a mischief monger. The devotee tolerates all reverses as God's grace. So you understood this point, no? Thus for a devotee, the identifier is as much a sinner as the mischief monger. The moment you point out and say that this rascal is a cause, then then the devotee understands that. He philosophically understands. For example, there could be another situation also. Somebody may ask you, Prabhuji, for a very higher purpose, it has to be answered. Then the law has to be answered. Maybe you only knew what is what. Okay, some bad thing is done to you, and then you have to express that in some situation. But you are philosophically, at least you should understand that you was only an instrument in your karma. Are you able to understand what I am speaking here? Some example wherein there is no one saw it or anything, you knew exactly. And if you don't say at that particular point, he is going to do more mess. He is going to cause more trouble. So again, this philosophy should not be cannot be misused. I'm just saying. You understand the point that for the sake of dharma, you may have to speak the truth at the particular situation. But internally, you should not develop a great hatredness to that particular person whomsoever inflicted that pain on you. It's very difficult. I just had a couple of days before a discussion that okay, we will talk about it in another class. I don't have time. Please remind me about this. It's a very interesting discussion. How to handle a situation. We will speak about it later because there are some more themes that we're going to discuss. Okay, I'll continue. That is the way a devotee accepts a thing, either favorable or unfavorable. And thus, for a devotee, is identified as much as a sinner as a mischief monger. The devotee tolerates all reverses as God's grace. Maharaj Parikshit observed this, and therefore he could understand that the bull was none other than the personality of religion himself. In other words, a devotee has no suffering at all because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. The cow and bull never placed any complaint before the king for being tortured by the personality of Kali. Although everyone lodges such complaints before the state authorities, the extraordinary behavior of the bull made the king conclude that the bull was certainly the personality of religion, for no one else could understand the finer intricacies of the codes of religion. So we have so many different examples. Prahlad Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj. There's one verse which was very interesting that Durvasa was so captivated. Durvasa Muni was so captivated by Ambarish Maharaj. He says that what a great personality I have met today. He was glorifying after this whole incident has happened. We are just in that section now in the Bhagavatam classes. We will see. He says that Aho Ananta Dasanam Mahatvam Drishta Madhyame Kritagasopi Yadrajan Mangalani Samihase. He said that such a fellow, I actually created all troubles for him. I, in fact, put him in great difficulty by sending the demon. But instead, what he did, he was thinking about my welfare. He was thinking how to help me. He was pleading to Sudarshan Chakra, whatever piety I had. He says, in one place, Ambarish says, whatever piety I have, please use all those piety and Sudarshan, please help Durvasa Muni. And after the whole incident, he says, very sorry, I made you wait. And it's all not some dramatic, just to, it's from his heart. The Prabhupada says in those purposes that this is how a devotee is. Very high standards. Very high standards. Okay, the last section of this purport. Here is what another profound statement mentioned. Please pay attention. So, thus it is concluded, text 23. Thus it is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by mental speculation or by word jugglery. So how the Lord's energies are acting, what is the Lord's plan? It is inconceivable. It's not possible for us to conclude, but simply accept it as Lord's plan. That's the conclusion. Now, see this purport. Prabhupada is raising some questions and very nicely resolving it. A question may be raised as to why a devotee should refrain from identifying an actor, although the devotee knows definitely that the Lord is the ultimate doer of everything. So he said, at least he could say, no, Lord is the cause of this. Like that, Prabhupada is raising a question. Because he is the cause. Although one knows the ultimate doer, why should one pose himself as ignorant of the actual performer? To answer this doubt, the reply is that the Lord is also not directly responsible for everything. And that we already discussed. How is that? Now somebody may immediately ask the Shastri quotation. Can someone remember from the Bhagavad Gita? We saw one verse, that in that verse very clearly says the Lord is not the direct cause. I can give a clue in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Not a very famous verse. Nadhatte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukrutam vibhuhu ajnane navrutam jnanam tena mukhyanti jantavaha. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's sinful or pious activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of the ignorance which covers their real knowledge. So that is the whole point. So when we study Nectar of Devotion, what we understood? Avidya, because of avidya, we are all suffering. Not that Lord is putting us into perpetual suffering. So that's what Prabhupada is pointing out here. Lord is also not directly responsible for everything. It's done by his deputed Maya Shakti or material energy. The material energy is always provoking doubts about the supreme authority of the Lord. The personality of religion know perfectly well that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, and still he was put into doubts by the deluding energy, and thus he refrained from mentioning the Supreme Cause. Did you understand what is being? I will read again. Please pay attention. The personality of religion knew perfectly well that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. He knew that or not? But why he didn't spell it out? And still he was put into doubts by the deluding energy. And thus he refrained from mentioning the Supreme Cause. See what Prabhupada says here. So again, now the rest of the statement you see, this doubtfulness was due to the contamination of both Kali and the material energy. Why Dharma couldn't spell it out? He says because Kali influenced. Already Kali's influence was there. Obviously, it's contradictory, but Prabhupada concludes like this. And also material energy is also pulling us down, and Kali also. The whole atmosphere of the age of Kali is magnified with the deluding energy, and the proportion of measurement is inexplicable. Okay, the next theme we'll just see in the next class. So you may please ponder on these points. If you have questions, I will take up the questions in the upcoming class. At the beginning, I will take up questions. If you have any questions, write it down. Offline also you can discuss with me, or in the next class also you can post, because this was one whole theme I wanted to complete. That's why I took some extra 15 minutes. I'll also try to give you some summary of this discussion, and maybe I'll try to give you some purport or something, some key points. I'll just try to put and try to give to you, so that you can, because these are such lessons we learn from this particular discussion. So just to sum up, what are the amazing lessons that we learn from here? We never pinpoint on the perpetrator of whatever suffering that we are undergoing. Second thing, we understand it as the effect of our previous karma we are undergoing. Then we understand, this is the whole, big discussions we had. This is what is the conclusion we need to understand from this. Then I should be suffering more, but by the mercy of the Lord, my suffering is reduced. And what else we can think? Maybe I have done so many sinful activities. The Lord is, by this I will undergo purification. And very much related to this particular Leela, we can say that Parikshit, Lord want to glorify Parikshit. So such a situation has happened. We want to show that how Parikshit can establish the Dharma. So these are all the various angles by which we look into it, and it really makes our consciousness so elevated. You see, then when a devotee has got such an understanding, he will never be mentally depressed. He will be super cool in any situation. And then that's why you can see many times when they look at sadhus, they are surprised how he is able to, in such a disastrous situation, he is able to lead very peacefully. How is it possible? Because he has full understanding, he has full faith in God, he has full faith in the vision of the Lord, he has full faith in the plan of the Lord. Right? Pandavas were having so much suffering, never ever they complained. So you see, this theme is repeated again and again in the Bhagavad. Now we will see the next chapter also. Parikshit never ever cursed. Whom? Shringi. He understood Lord had a plan. Okay. How many incidents we see in Bhagavatam? So very difficult for us to learn a lesson, no? But for us, immediately, 1998 at 8:48 p.m. At that time when I entered the room, this Prabhuji or this fellow, what he said, I will never forget it. It is a mark on my subtle body. We will suffer also. Very difficult, easy to say. For me, I was also speaking. But for a Vaishnava who is very elevated, he has full realization. He forgets it. And that's what Bhagavatam is teaching us. So this section is a very amazing section. So many subtleties are discussed. So again and summarize. Basically, the 6 philosophical conclusions for the cause and effect is being discussed. And finally, the final cause is the Supreme Lord Himself. And while coming to this conclusion, finally, we understand that very difficult to understand why a particular event has taken place in the life of a personality. We can't ascertain it. But the Lord has a plan for a devotee. At the same time, the Lord is not at least in the life of a normal person, the Lord is not the cause for our suffering, although He is indirectly, He is the final cause. But in the life of a devotee, maybe He is directly, not maybe, He is directly involved for some higher purpose. And what exactly it is, that also nobody knows. But these are all the conclusions of the Acharyas. That for the purification, for the benefit of the devotee, for the Lord to speeden up the Leela, the Lord may do such kind of activities. So many perspectives on that. Okay, is it clear? Is it? I mean, at least the overview of it is clear. Where we will have doubts is that in the 6 systems of philosophy, where if you just peacefully read the commentary and just point out, just take the 3-4 purports, you can very clearly see the different, basically the 6 different Karma Mimamsaka, Jaimini's Karma Mimamsaka, and then the Sankhya philosophy, then the atheistic Kannada philosophy. All these things Prabhupada is pointing out. This is what Dharma is also proposing as a cause. And finally, he is giving this conclusion. Okay? It's not, it will appear very complicated, but when you read, give it a reading. One time you read, make some points. Second time you read, this is what I did. I read 2-3 times and then I just make some points and the flow is there. And with the help of Prabhupada's purport and also Vishwanath Thakur's commentary also, things, same thing Prabhupada is saying, there's no difference. A few points, he just elaborated on a few things, that's what we discussed. Okay? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.